The Mariners scored 30 runs in a series against the Cubs this weekend that we went to. We're going to have reactions to that series, as well as a lot of discussion about the Mariners' offense and how it's improved, what has happened over the last little stretch to give them a little push in the offensive tiers. Anything else to say, John, before we just dive into a little Mariners-loaded podcast?
Unbelievable offensive stretch for our boys. Offense is all the way back, and pitching is looking better. So, a lot to talk about, but if I was an Astros fan, I'd be a little bit nervous.
You said last week that you didn't want me to ask this question, but today you did have something to say, so I'm glad I did. All right, here is some Coyote Picnic. All right, John, first things first. I think we talk about our experience at Wrigley. We posted about it on Instagram. We were like, hey, Sound Up Seattle, we're here in Chicago. We made the trip out there for that game against the Cubs, or that series against the Cubs, went to the Saturday and Sunday games, and it was an offensive explosion. 35 runs over 2 games. Kind of just a crazy one. Obviously great as a fan to go see that offense, but give me just your thoughts as a viewer and watching this Mariners team over that stretch.
Yeah, man, we got so spoiled in Chicago. What an awesome couple of games to catch. Both teams played well. I mean, we missed the first game, so the Mariners went 1-1 in games we saw. But we saw, there were 30 runs scored by the Mariners in 3 games and 20 by the Cubs. So offensively, it was just a lot of fun. It was hot. The wind was blowing out of the stadium. Wrigley's a small park. It felt like any fly ball had the potential to clear that back wall, and it just made for a pretty electric atmosphere. So anybody that knows me knows that I've got some mixed loyalties with my Cubbies. So I had a really good time watching both teams. Awesome atmosphere. Cubs fans are good, man. I like Cubs fans.
Yeah, didn't have any issues with them. I feel like, we sat, especially the second day, we kind of talked around with the Cubs fans and heard from them about their team. The Cubs are really deep, man. If they have really a good potential to make the, NLDS or NLCS, whatever it is for them. But it was just a fun weekend. I think it really showed that the Mariners can hang with anybody, especially in a park that's pushing the balls an extra 10 feet with the wind. So it was just a fun weekend for us, and excited to watch this Mariners offense continue, because over the last couple games against the Twins, it's actually kind of been just as good, if not better. Not better. It can't be better than that. But
no, it literally can't be. But about 8.5 runs per game over these 2 Twins games. So it's been basically no change in terms of offensive firepower. They've been laying it down over and over and over. And 8 runs against the Red Sox in their second to last game in that series too. So this team, offensively, they've been bringing it kind of all year in an unexpected way. Their big slump hit them as their offense kind of came down to earth a little bit, but the offense is all the way back off the ground, if anybody was wondering. There's just a lot of guys to talk about making it happen.
Yeah. I mean, you really think like 11-2 2 days ago. Today, the game is just about to start as we're recording this, so you might see some instant reactions coming from us talking about this third Twins game today. But if this offense can keep clicking the way that it has, I think we'll have a lot to talk about. And with that, I'll lead it into what has made this offense really click. And we'll talk about these guys probably in floating and floundering as well. But I really, really have thought that Donovan Solano, like being able to just be an on-base machine. He did have that game where he hit 2 home runs in the Cubs series, which, watching Donovan Solano and Dominic Canzone each hit 2 home runs in a game was just like remarkable for us. But I think Donovan Solano and just like the bottom of the order really starting to come through in a real way has been a very, very pleasant surprise, considering the fact that Solano was basically a non-factor for the first month and a half. Canzone just got called up a couple weeks ago, and then like Cole Young, like we said I think last week, it was like he basically struggled for the first 2 weeks of his start here, and he's kind of ramping that back up. If those 3 can just like be more consistent, they don't have to be great hitters, but if they can be more consistently getting on base at like a 250 clip, that's going to be great for this Mariners team and really feel like it's lengthening the lineup so that the weight is not all on Cal on top of this order.
Yeah, and just to speak to their offense was awesome in that Cubs series, but it was a very friendly hitting week.
Yes.
And to express that, over the course of that 3-game series, 6 different players had multi-home run days. 2 Cubs, that's Seiya Suzuki and Ian Happ, had multi-home run games. And then, Cal had a multi-home run game, no shock there. Mitch Garver did, which was very surprising. And then Canzone and Donovan Solano both did, which was also, surprising on both accounts. Maybe less for Canzone than Solano, but still. So, it was a very friendly situation. But yeah, it's undoubtedly been, we're going to talk about Cal. It's impossible not to. But the top guys have been playing somewhere between okay and amazing for us. But, when we were talking about the Cubs, what's made the Cubs offense so special this year, they're second in runs scored in the National League, is they're just so deep, man. It's really 1 through 9. They got guys that are batting like 240 and above and can generate some form of power. And so because of that, their offense has these innings where they will just have these awesome runs where they'll, send 10 or 11 guys up to the plate because everybody has the ability to get on base in a real way. The Mariners' problem this year is that, has very much not been there for the most part. It, kind of comes and goes as they hit these stretches, but it's been the top guys all year that have been carrying us. It's been Cal, it's been JP, Julio at times. But the emergence of Solano, the return and immediate explosion of Canzone, it's been these things that has turned this offense from good to great over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And we were talking about it watching that first Cubs game that we went to on Saturday, and it was really just like, man, the only guy that you feel very comfortable getting out 95% of the time is Brujan, the guy who's just came in and has like 30 at-bats. It's like everybody else on this Cubs team feels like at any point they could explode with a home run or a double, and they're just like so solid. And if the Mariners can turn into that type of offense, they don't need the top-tier pitching that we expected them to have. You look at their just stats in terms of runs that they've produced. They're 12th in the league right now. On base percentage, they're 6th. Like, they are walking at a great clip. Slugging, they're 409, and most of that comes from Cal. But as a team, they're 409, 9th in the MLB. It's just like they're doing much better offensively, and I think we could have expected them to, especially with the season that Cal is having. So really, if this pitching can just kind of recenter itself, and we are entering the season where it's hot, pitchers get way more tired way more quickly, especially you saw it this weekend, Trent Thornton almost passing out, that kind of stuff. But as we enter the hot months, if this team can get hot and then stay hot through September, like there's a real world where we come up and just like keep this energy. And I really think the Astros might fall off. I know they have the easiest schedule of any MLB team over the rest of the season, but at any point they could falter. I was looking at them since our series against the Astros, which was May, I think 22nd was the start, so about a month ago. The Astros are 21-9, and the Mariners are 13-17. And that's the swing right there, right? That's an 8-game swing, which is just goes to show like this can swing at any moment, right? The Astros have gotten super hot, the Mariners really went super cold, but they're kind of getting back on the horse a little bit. Like they've won, what is that? Their last two series, 5. And 4 of their last 5 for sure. So it's looking good, and we can hope that they keep riding it along with Cal's historic first half. Yeah, I think, do you want to do floaters and flounderers first, or do you want to talk a little bit about this first base situation?
Let's do floaters or flounders. I just want to say one last thing about the standings, which is that the Astros are absolutely tearing it up right now. Props to them, but it's largely, they've played a bunch more games at home, and their home record is much better than their away record. Mariners are about even home and away, which isn't surprising because any home field advantage is hurt by their lack of offense at home. But yeah, the Mariners, they were 10 games above 500. They dropped down to a game below 500. They're now back to 4 games above 500, 4.5 games back from the Astros. This season, baseball seasons, every year it blows me away how mercurial they are and the way they just swing. from month to month. So, yeah, at some point the Astros are going to lose 9 of 13 games. That's going to happen. So what the Mariners need to do is just stay ready to pounce on that when it happens. It's also a situation where, they're in a really good position to steal a wild card. Obviously, the AL East is looking like a potential 3-bid division, but the Central is a mess. It's going to be the Tigers and nobody else out of the Central, unless the Guardians can pull it together. So the Mariners in a really good spot to try to get a wild card if they're not able to wrestle it back from the Astros. So standings, I'm not concerned. Obviously, the season is young also, but I'm just really not worried about the standings right now. I think the way the team is playing, I'm very encouraged.
Yeah, we're not even halfway through the season, which is another thing to talk. Maybe we use that as a jump into the floaters, and we just talk about this almost halfway point and where the big dumper is. I think everybody's talked about it, and Cal Raleigh, I'll just take him as a floater. I'm sure you had him or a couple of the other guys, but we'll talk Cal here. God, this dude he just keeps raking, man. 4 home runs in 3 games against the Cubs. He hit 1 against the Twins in the first game, and a double yesterday. I think he had 2 RBIs. Let me check real quick. Just 1 RBI, but still a solid game. He had 2 hits, a double, a single. Just Cal has been doing everything that has been asked of him and more. You thought, hey, his May was incredible, right? A 304 batting average, 430 on base, 739 slugging. And his June, he's hitting 325, 400, and 763. He's hitting better in June than he was in May, and it's just like the floor feels like it's just consistently rising. Like it feels like his batting average, he's up to 280 right now. Cal's batting average is up to 280 right now. This is like where we expect Julio to be. But with Cal's power, it's crazy.
His OPS on the year is over 1,000. His OPS in the month is almost 1,200. And by the way, we talk a lot about Savant. It's not even worth going through how disgusting his Savant page is, but just one thing I want to note, because it is a new thing. He has reached the 100th percentile in batting run value. Statistically speaking, this is the most valuable bat in baseball. That is what that means. Nobody generates more runs per at-bat than Cal Raleigh. Literally the most valuable hitter in baseball, statistically. Aaron Judge, eat your heart out. What you're doing is very impressive, but Savant does not lie. He's also 90th percentile in framing as a catcher. So just a little icing on the cake there from who is statistically the most valuable bat in baseball.
Yeah, dude. His strikeout percentage, we were talking about that. We were like, oh, we kind of expect him to strike out a lot more with the way that he's just been playing. It's gone down since we last talked about that. He's now below 25% in terms of strikeout percentage. Granted, obviously, the more that he hits, the less that the opportunity there is to strike out. But he's also walking at a 13.6% clip. It's like this guy is so good. I'm going to pull up his fan graphs just to get his WRC plus.
Yeah. Just one thing on his walk rate. 93rd percentile in walk rate, and that's going to continue to climb. We saw it a couple times in the Cubs series where it's like, oh, Mariners have 1 man on with no outs. We're just gonna walk Cal here because like he's reaching like Barry Bonds levels of like scary, where it's like, yeah, no, we'd rather just advance a runner into scoring position than have to deal with Cal at bat. Which is, I get it. I'm mad when they do it because he's more valuable to me too when he's allowed to swing at balls. So don't be surprised if that walk rate continues to climb as teams just look at this guy and say no thanks.
Yeah, and I think it's not as apparent, right? It's not like they're intentionally walking him, but they are just like, hey, we are not going to keep this ball anywhere near the zone. If he decides to swing at these awful pitches and put himself in a 2-strike count, then maybe we'll pitch to him. But they're just not giving him anything to hit, and even then, the guy is still producing at such a high level. His WRC plus right now, which if you guys don't know, if you're new to sport or baseball data, WRC plus is weighted runs created, and the plus means it's averaged out across the league, so 100 is average. He has a WRC plus of 194. He's almost twice as good as the average baseball player just in terms of hitting, and I don't even think that really does it justice. Like he is 94% better than JP Crawford. I guess average JP Crawford. JP's kind of been doing great this year, but like average JP Crawford, Cal is almost double the value of basically just from hitting. Like, it's crazy how good Cal has been.
Just a fun little note, because we were talking about too. Cal's really pushed himself into the MVP conversation with Aaron Judge, just with everything that's happening, and it's like I don't actually think it's a super close debate, because I think Aaron Judge's batting average will come down, and then it won't. I don't know what the conversation there is. Cal's also playing. He's catching. He's playing.
Yeah.
You were doing a great job explaining this to me, of just like, you always have to inflate what catchers are doing on offense because they're doing the hardest thing on defense. They're playing like the hardest defensive position. So you're used to seeing catchers that are like suboptimal offensive output guys. For example, Cubs catcher Carson Kelly, very good catcher. He has 9 home runs. The second most home runs in the National League for a catcher. Second, he is a awesome offensive catcher in the National League with 9 home runs. Cal has almost 4 times as many home runs as Carson Kelly. Like, it's unbelievable what this guy is doing.
It's one of those things that you never. I'm just looking at a picture of Cal Raleigh. I'm not looking at any stats. You're looking at my face in the YouTube, and I'm just looking at Cal just in awe, man. This dude is just he's
smiling.
Just producing. Like, if we're gonna make the playoffs, it's gonna be because Cal Raleigh basically willed us to a 500 win percentage in these last couple months when the offense was so stagnant. It's like Cal has done so much for this team. He's done it from both sides of the plate, from behind the plate, leading this pitching staff through very tumultuous times in terms of the injuries and all that kind of stuff. It's like this guy has done everything on the baseball field that could ever be thought of, and he has 9 stolen bases. It's like he has the most stolen bases by a Mariners catcher ever, I think, at this point, by a few. The guy's just...
I can't believe he has 9 stolen bases. That's wild.
He's just like, they're not watching me. I'll just run. And he just knows what's going on at all times. I think this guy, he probably did an Aaron Rodgers type trip, but it just worked so well that the guy's come back in just full form. But
yeah,
I can't say enough about him.
I got to start doing that stuff. No, he's been unbelievable. We're probably talking about him too much, but it's just seeing it in person for a couple of games, and the fact that it just hasn't stopped. He broke the record for like most home runs by a catcher before the All-Star break. Like 4 games ago, he's gonna break it by like 10 home runs. It's just insane. He is on pace to have like the 3rd most home runs ever in a season. Yeah. Now, will he get another 32 home runs after the All-Star break? Probably not. But he is on pace to be up there with all. He's gonna be up there with the names of all the guys that were juicing for like a decade, which is just, it's insane.
Go torpedo bats, baby.
Yeah, no kidding. I was actually wondering about that, if there was maybe a conversation we need to have about, offensively juiced stats this year. What Cal's doing is so unique, even for him. And Aaron Judge is, he's got like 6 less home runs, but he's literally batting 400 right now. I can't remember the last time I saw a guy batting 400 at the All-Star break. And Ronald Acuna Jr. is doing the same thing. He's batting like 396 on the season. Is it torpedo bats or is it something else? Am I crazy? Because it feels like some of the big names in offense are doing things suspiciously dominant.
I think if you really take a look at like the overall numbers of the league, they're about the same. What has happened, in my humble opinion, as a guy who just likes baseball and watching this kind of stuff, pitchers I think have been struggling to hit their spots a little bit more, and that comes with everybody's trying to throw super hard, but it's like people are figuring out, and this comes as well with the swing of like we've talked about this before in any sort of sport, where it's like in football, you have the defense figures out how to adjust to what the offense is doing, and it takes a couple years for the offense to be like, okay, this is how we now have to run it. So they adjust to the defense, offense spikes. In football, it happens more quickly, where it's like, you saw at the beginning of the season, so many points were scored, and then defenses figured out how to play, and they reduced the number of points, and that's just kind of how it worked. And right now, I think it feels like it, but in the early season, I don't think we were seeing as many runs, and right now it just feels like an offensive explosion. Could it be because of the weather? Could it be because pitchers get tired? Could it be because now there's so much more data about what's going on with these pitchers, where they're throwing the ball? All that kind of stuff leads to more offense being generated, which is, I think, really good for the sport of baseball. I think the way that it is being talked about right now in a lot of just MLB fan circles and fans of baseball and sports in general is like, okay, baseball can be a thing to talk about right now because of the offensive explosion. And I think that's, at the end of the day, that's just awesome for the sport.
Yeah, agreed. And I appreciate what you're saying about, as a league, we're not seeing a huge explosion, so that's a good reason not to be feeling too crazy. It seems like a couple of these guys, whether it's the bats or something else, have really just kind of cracked it a little bit. One other fun thing about Cal, and for whatever reason I just wouldn't have thought this, 5 years younger than Aaron Judge. Like, Judge is awesome, and if he wins MVP this year, I wouldn't be salty in the least. Like, what he's doing is pretty unbelievable. But if I could have one or the other right now, like, I don't think there's any doubt that you'd take Cal. He's
100%. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's like, would you rather have Cal Raleigh or Aaron Judge on your team? And if you ask Yankees fans, they would say, oh, Aaron Judge 100%. And it's because they're not watching Cal Raleigh play baseball.
Yeah.
He's so much better than Aaron Judge just because of what he does defensively and in terms of leadership on the team.
Sure. And even if, because I do think there's an argument to be made for this year. I would take Cal, but I do think there's an argument. But the fact that, like, if I had to sign one of them to a 10-year deal, I would definitely do Cal, or even a 5-year deal. I would definitely do Cal. Just, yeah, it's kind of funny. I kind of thought that they were peers age-wise. I feel like I've been aware of them in the league for a similar amount of time, but yeah, 5 full years younger. That's awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
All right, let's go to our second floater or flounderer.
I think it was always going to be a long one. There's some historical stuff happening. There's some MVP talk happening. We had to do that.
Yeah.
All right, my guy. I just had to touch on him because he also reached a milestone that I think is pretty cool, and that is our boy Brian Wu. We're going to be talking about a lot of bats. This is probably the one arm we will discuss in floating or floundering. His last 2 starts against the Twins and Red Sox, both wins. He made it 6 innings against the Twins, 7 against the Red Sox, 2 combined earned runs in those 2 games. Just par for the course Brian Wu stuff. Yeah, 15 games started this season, 3.1 ERA, 0.95 whip. He's been really, really good. And what I saw today is that he also reached the 100th percentile in fastball run value, which means statistically there is not a more dangerous fastball in baseball than Brian Wu's. Help me out on that a little bit. Is that because he has the best fastball in baseball, or is it because with the help of his other pitches, he's got a couple pitches that are so dominant, it makes his fastball better, harder for the hitters because they have to look at other things?
No, it's his fastball. It's literally just his fastball is one of, if not the best pitch in baseball in terms of, we've talked about it before, how it's released out of his hand, how it feels like it's going up compared to where a hitter would expect it to go. Like, it's just a pitch that works so well, and can't say anything more. Brian Wu's been awesome, and he's really, like, through this stretch, all we want to do is hope that he keeps his ERA and all of his numbers pretty consistent. Obviously, offense has spiked, and we will likely see him have a blow up or 2. But even through, like, a tough start, he's been so good. And there's not much more we can say besides the dude's been a rock, which is awesome.
Yeah, he is averaging on his fastball first 95.5 miles per hour, which is impressive on its own. That's also the average, so he's getting a lot faster than that on certain balls. And then an average 15.2 inches of rise on that fastball. That's what you're talking about, where it just climbs and climbs and climbs and just keeps getting over people's bats. So, yeah, he's been awesome. His ERA is actually a little higher than I would have expected, considering how dominant he's been. But I guess to start the month, he had his 2 worst outings of the season against the Orioles and Diamondbacks in early June. Gave up 9 runs in 11. Sorry, no, not 11. 9 runs in 12 innings. So again, still making it deep into those games, but 9 runs in those 2 games has been hurting his ERA a little bit. But return to form in the last 2. I love this guy. Gilbert's coming back slowly, but if we had a win or go home game tomorrow, I would put Brian Wu on the plate.
That's fair. I think one thing that doesn't get mentioned a ton is just like how Brian Wu pitches, right? He throws his fastball. It's the same way George Kirby and like Emerson Hancock want their fastballs to be, where it's like you want it to be a couple inches above the strike zone. And that's where you get the perfect amount of like guys chasing because they think it's going to drop. And especially for Brian Wu, it's like, oh, that looks so tempting. He can go even higher in the strike zone. And that's the type of pitching that a lot of the Mariners have going for them. Gilbert is a type of guy who really is just efficient at getting people out. He doesn't need to throw his fastball right at the top of the zone. He's kind of more of a slider, splitter, uses other pitches to get guys out. So it's a couple different styles of pitching, which I like to see and like to watch. But Wu has been so good at getting that top of the zone value, and that's where you see his best strikeout games, like he had against the Twins the other day. So really good for him.
One other note on that, what I just think is something very unique about him. When you look at these fastball pitchers, he throws his four-seamer 43% of the time. With these guys that live and die on their fastball, those are the guys that struggle to control their walk rate because when you have to put more into every pitch, it's harder to control where that pitch goes. The least accurate pitch in baseball is the fastball. He's in the 96th percentile of walk rate. He's walking batters 4% of the time. And he's controlling games with his fastball. I think the combination of those two factors is, in my mind, as a relatively uneducated baseball fan, that seems pretty game-breaking to me.
Yeah. I mean, all the things that Brian Wu is doing are just kind of game-breaking when it comes to like his pitch mix. So it's just been, it's been cool to see. All right, I am going to take it's kind of a weird floater or weird flounderer. It's a little interesting because it's a pitcher. But it's a guy who just hasn't seen the plate or hasn't seen the mound enough, and that is going to be Andres Munoz, actually. Since June 9th, which was, at this point, 16 days ago, he's pitched twice. He's pitched twice in 16 days, once against the Red Sox and once against the Twins. This has been a talking point on a couple of other pods that I've seen, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate it, talk about it, what's been going on. Obviously, the games have been so high scoring, so variable when it comes to like run differential in the games. But Andres Munoz, and we haven't even shouted him out once this season. I feel like it's kind of about time. As a guy, he's got an ERA right now, 1.21. He hadn't allowed a run through until May 30th. Like he hadn't allowed a run. I don't know how many appearances that was, but till May 30th. And since then, he's been pretty average when it comes to like his closing stuff. He's allowed a couple runs here and there, but a whip of .81 on the season. It's just like Andres Munoz has been unreal. And really what it comes from is his slider is just so easily induces ground balls, right? He's in the 97th percentile of inducing ground balls. Nobody hits the ball hard. He strikes out people at such a high clip, 97th percentile in the strikeout rate. It's like this guy is basically you go up there and you either strike out or you hit the ball directly into the dirt right at the first baseman. And there's really no in between. So it's just the guy's been so good, and it's weird because he hasn't gotten a lot of play around the time where it's like all-star voting is very big for him, and everybody was like, oh, Andres Munoz is going to be an all-star for the Mariners. And it kind of feels like they've like tapered off of letting him pitch that much, and I hope that it is not because they don't want him in the all-star game or for some reason he's been injured. Like I don't really know what's been going on. I haven't heard any news, but my fear is that he's dealing with something and they're just trying to like kind of loosen his arm, take off the workload a little bit because he was doing so well early in the season, and we were relying on him a lot. So I'm really hoping that it's not anything crazy, but the guy's been so good this year.
Half the appearances in June that he had in May. I mean, June's about to be over, and he has had 5 outings in June. He had 10 in May. So, and he had looks like 12 or so in April. So his play is definitely tapered off in terms of the amount of time, but his performance has not. Up to 18 saves on the season. He had 22 last year. 3-0 in terms of wins and losses. He's not surrendered a loss yet. The dude is disgusting, and definitely time to have the Andres Munoz conversation, and definitely deserving of an all-star nod. But I am surprised he went there because that means we're going to have to talk about 5 guys because there are 2 other guys we just have to talk about. So
we talked about him a lot earlier, so I had to shout him out. I had to give Munoz the shout out because we talked about these guys a little bit already.
Totally. Well, I'll leave you who I'm going to leave you, but do you have anything else to say about Munoz?
No, I just wanted to shout him out and get the discussion going about his kind of my worried status about his pitch count, or I guess pitch availability. But we'll be monitoring.
That would be crazy. He's the best closer in baseball.
Yeah. So just hoping that happens. All right, take over. Go for it.
Okay, I'm moving on to the best bat in baseball. Aaron Judge, eat your heart out. And that is the returning Italian, Dominic Canzone.
Wow, I thought you were going to go with the other one.
No, I'm letting you have the other one. Statistically not the best bat in baseball, but he has been awesome. He has been so good for the Mariners since his return. He technically had a couple games in April, but he's basically only played this month in the month of June. Returned June 9th against the Diamondbacks. So he's played in 5 total series so far, including the Twins. And he's just been awesome since he came back. Obviously, we saw him hit 2 home runs against the Cubs, and then he got another one in Game 1 against the Twins. But when he came back in, he was batting like 160, kind of trying to find his rhythm. We had no idea what we were going to get from him because he's missed so much time. But he is batting 300 in the month of June overall, 12 hits. He's been awesome since he got back in. We were seeing his at-bats were so few. During the Cubs game, his batting average jumped like 40 points while we were sitting there watching because he just kept coming up and getting hits. He's up to 280 on the year, 4 home runs in only 43 at-bats, slugging .605 with a .931 OPS. This is big-time small sample size stuff, but pretty big-time results.
Yeah, that's what floaters and flounders are about. We're floating over the last couple of weeks of Dominic Canzone. And
no kidding.
When you really look at his stuff and how he approaches the game, I do get worried. Like, he's done great over the last couple weeks. I get worried that he's kind of a Dylan Moore. He might get overexposed because his thing is he chases. Like, right, he chases the ball. He doesn't want to strike out. He's got 4 strikeouts in his June playing time, and he's got 3 walks. Like, the guy just swings at every pitch. Sorry. The guy swings at every pitch that he can, trying to put it in play. And obviously, when pitchers don't know or have to, kind of remember how this guy is, it can lead to really great results. And we see these right here. That's the one thing that I worry about is him getting overexposed, him playing every day and getting to the point where it's like, okay, all we have to do is throw this guy, a 2-seamer that runs off the plate and this guy's going to chase every single time, or a slider that runs in down at his foot. It's like those 2 pitches are going to be very, very dangerous for Dominic. And until pitchers figure that out, he's going to succeed because he's just so good with the bat. He's got great power, which is kind of crazy with his small frame. We talked about that over the weekend. But the guy's just his swing is so good. He's just trying to swing at everything. If he had a little bit more patience, I would be even more excited. So we'll see where it goes. But I really like what he's done so far. I just had to give him a little bit of a shout out towards his flaws because don't be expecting this the entire season for Dominic Canzone.
Yeah. And we were also talking about this guy he's streaky 101. Like, he's had at least one stretch every season that he's been a Mariner where we're like, wow, is this guy the answer at the bottom of our lineup? And then, he'll fall apart again. But he's been awesome to start. 2 encouraging stats. I totally appreciate with what you're saying. Yeah, his chase rate, he's 35% of the time he's chasing the ball a little bit behind. So that's frightening. But even with that being the case, he's only striking out 13% of the time, which is a very low strikeout rate. And his expected batting average, statistically, is almost 20 points higher than his actual batting average. So the computers are looking at this guy and they're liking what they see. Whether or not pitchers can kind of crack him by just, relying on some outside the zone pitches, we will find out. But awesome start for our boy Dominic. Had to talk about him. 300 in the month of June. Total found money.
Yep. All right, let's talk about the real greatest hitter on this Mariners team and the guy who's been saving us. Because this automatic out early in the season was just so frustrating, right? It was so frustrating as a Mariners fan to be like, fuck, this guy's coming to the plate? Like, I can't believe it. But Donovan Solano, our hero in disguise, our 5'8" king playing first base, is hitting .471 in the month of June with a .500 on base and a .765 slugging for a 1.265 OPS. This guy's having a better month in June than Cal Raleigh is. Like, it's kind of crazy. The guy that we saw, obviously, his 2-home-run game against the Cubs was awesome, and he's just such a kid. Every time he came to the plate. Also, we have to talk about my Dominic Canzone home run call, but every time he came to the plate, it was like with somebody on base, and he was just like, "Oh, their second baseman's helping for the double play. Let me just hit it where he usually plays, and just ground ball right side base hit, ground ball right side base hit, ground ball right side base hit," or it's like a line drive right over the second baseman when he's playing normally. It's like this guy is a barrel king. This is why I was calling him Donnie Barrels. He just knows how to put the ball in play. His every other stat besides his sweet spot stat is blue on Baseball Savant. The guy, statistically, like whatever it is, he's 37. He's not got a lot of power left in the tank, but he's doing everything right in terms of how he's hitting. He kind of looks like just a guy playing for the hit and run every single time, where he's swinging and just putting it where the defenders aren't. And God, it's gorgeous from Donovan Solano. I've loved watching him play.
Yeah, his spray chart is remarkably uniform across the center of the field, except for his 3 home runs are all obviously out of left field. But yeah, he's clearly, I mean, when you have a spray chart like this, when I'm looking at this, I'm seeing a guy that is aiming with his singles. He's a guy that's not really trying to generate a ton of power at these at-bats, but he's seeing holes on the field and he's trying to get the ball into the hole. Not surprising for a 37-year-old guy with this much experience. Surrender some power and just work on putting the ball where you want to put it. It's been unbelievable. It's also, he has more hits in the month of June than he does in the rest of his season combined. He has 11 hits in his last 4 games. He had 3 hits in every single game against the Cubs.
Dude, watching him come to the plate was crazy, that series. It was so fun.
Absolutely wild. Okay, so they're just, some of the stats are just insane. He was batting .000 in the month of March, batting .175 in the month of April, and batting .214 in the month of May. That is incremental improvement. Coming out of the month of May, he was batting .173 overall. That average has jumped 100 points in the month of June, getting him all the way up to .266 on the season. Yeah, due to a .480 month of June, which is just insane. I apologize if we're talking like too much math, but like it's unbelievable how good he's been compared to how awful he was. It's the Solano-sance. I don't know what else to call it. He's all the way back, baby.
Dude, his OPS, right? His OPS when he was done in the month of May, last day of May, had a .413 OPS. He is currently almost back up to league average now. He's almost at 700. He's at 678. He's jumped 260 points in his OPS. It's a combination of hitting for power finally and walking a little bit extra, getting on base. It's just like, it's been unreal how much this guy's taken a step. And the real thing is the Mariners believed in this guy, right? They didn't DFA him like we all were calling for them to do, and they kept playing him. Like they played him. He played in a lot of games in April, a lot of games in May. Even when he was doing poorly, they were like, well, first of all, we don't have another first baseman because Luke Raley's on the IL, and Rowdy Tellez is not any better, really. But the guy was playing a lot of days, and he got a lot of playing time, and it's obviously paying off, right? The belief in this guy is paying off in a real way, and that's really been cool to see. I'm going to take this opportunity to lead us into this discussion about first baseman. Luke Raley is a guy who we have kept on this roster in basically the Rowdy Tellez spot as a lefty platoon first baseman with Donovan Solano. He's been playing outfield along with Dominic Canzone. They're kind of swapping off. Solano's been playing first base when Luke Raley's in right field, and then sometimes Raley will play first base or he'll have a day off as he works back in. But it's like, for the most part, with Solano hitting the way he is and Luke Raley, being as decent of a hitter as he is, have the Mariners solved their first base problem? And is their next thought, okay, let's actually get another outfielder. Let's improve that spot. Is Victor Robles not coming back, or should we be worried about him coming back and really acquire a guy to really push us to the end? Like, how do we feel about this first base quote-unquote problem that we had? Is it fixed?
Yeah, that's a great question. One thing I'll say about Luke Raley is I really like how consistent his season and career has been. He's only batting .240, but that's basically exactly what he batted last year and the year before that. If anything, his slugging is down this year. He had 20 home runs in 2023 and 22 in 2024. He only has 3 so far on the season.
But he was on the IL for 2 months.
Totally. But yeah, his slugging is down to 390 on this season, but his expected slugging is 480. So there's been some money left on the table in terms of extra base hits and home runs with his at-bats. So if anything, I expect that to improve. But yeah, a guy that's going to reliably hit 240 for the course of the season and apparently a resurgent Donovan Solano. I'm not going to say I completely trust it, but I'm happy to take it. Those two things put together make me feel a lot better about the first base situation. What I would say, based on your talking about reframing, would then be, I don't want to go to the outfield. I feel good about Robles coming back. We need Robles to come back. We'll need him for a playoff run if the Mariners want to accomplish anything big. I do think he will be needed. With that being the case, my eyes turn to third base. It's like, I'm glad we're no longer focused on first. That doesn't mean we're done. I would like to see Miles Mastroboni on the field 0% of the time. Anybody that you're going to replace in the outfield. And with, Canzone coming back, that's a little more depth in the outfield as well. Where I really see the need in terms of guys I want not playing as much anymore is third base, personally.
Yeah. Williamson has, let me pull it up, I think it's the fifth most.
He's been better recently.
He's been better recently. He has the 6th most at-bats on this entire team. He's basically an everyday third baseman at this point with, all things considered, a 255 average, but a 602 OPS. The guy just really has not hit for power, and he continues to not hit for power. I agree with you. I think third base is now the new position of need. I am on the side of, hey, we need a right fielder if we're going to, we still have to make a push in the regular season to catch the Astros. That's our end goal, to win the AL West and not have to worry about getting a wild card spot. And so with that being the case, I think that it's an outfielder plus a third baseman plus relief pitching. Obviously, we need relief pitching. But it's like our attention is not now on first base or really DH, right? Dominic Canzone's been good. Luke Raley's been good. Solano's been good. That's a trio of guys that you can put at first base, DH, situate however they want. And honestly, it makes me look at Ryan O'Hearn and say, hey, we could acquire you, but if it's going to cost too much, which I feel like this always happens to the Mariners, we're like, oh, we can't get rid of these guys. They're playing well now. But it's like, we could acquire O'Hearn, but I feel like we could stick where we're at and get a better right fielder or third baseman and really deal Harry Ford for that instead of a O'Hearn type player. I haven't thought about that much in terms of who that would be or where we would pull a third baseman from. But I think that is where we should look.
Totally. And I'm in 100% agreement with you. Those are the 3 areas of biggest need. I would just, in my own personal rankings, I would say third base, relief pitching, right field. Because I do think, Canzone plays right field most of the time when he plays. And yeah, he's not going to bat 300 forever, but he does bring a good combination of, power and relative consistency. He'll have good months and bad months, but he'll finish the year batting around 250. And I like what he does in right field defensively. Yeah, Williamson's been really good, man. 24 years old, batting almost 260 on the year. Like, he has been better than I think we could have expected. We just need to reduce this guy's role. Like, It's not going to get better than this. It could get worse than this. And I would just love to see him not be the fact that the reason he's playing every day is because he's got Miles Mastroboni doing nothing behind him. We just need help at third base so bad. And then I do think relief pitching is, we can stare at Munoz all day, but there's still a need there. So that's how I would frame it. But I do agree. First base has fallen down the priority list significantly. That would be more of a luxury acquisition than a need.
Yeah. Oh, man. That was quite a Mariners discussion. I told you it was going to be a Mariners loaded podcast. What was I going to say? The Dominic Canzone home run call.
We were sitting down. We were watching him for 6 hours. Of course, we're going to have a lot to say.
The Dominic Canzone home run call. We were sitting there, third game of the series, and it's Dominic Canzone's first at bat, and he's taking a couple pitches or whatever it is, and I look at John and I say, I think Dominic Canzone's kind of like due for a big day, a home run today. Literally the next pitch he goes yard, and John and I just kind of look at each other, and I was just like, man, I told you. But it was crazy.
You called it clean, man. You're selling yourself short too. You did not say big day. You were like, I think Dom's going to hit a home run this game, and literally the next pitch he did. You called the home run very cleanly. It was nasty. It was such a clean move that I immediately followed it up by being like, I kind of feel like Miles Mastrobuoni is about to hit a home run, and he promptly struck out. So if that's not illustrating our point clearly enough, he's not even good enough to be lucky.
Yeah. Oh, I almost, because he had 2 home runs on the day, and we were waiting for our ice cream because it was obviously so hot. And I almost got out of line to go watch a Dominic Canzone at bat, which really goes to show like what my thought process was at the time. I was like, man, this guy's cooking right now.
By the way, he singled. He did not. He kept the base pads moving on that one. So yeah, Canzone, man, we love him.
Oh. All right, a quick couple of discussions here. Sounders. I guess I'll ask you, John. Anything else to say about the Mariners before I jump to the rest of the pod stuff?
So much, but we will save it. We don't have to do everything all at once.
Deal. All right, Sounders. They go 0-3 in the Club World Cup, lose to Atletico Madrid and PSG since we last talked. 2-0 to PSG and I believe 2-1 to Atletico Madrid, or did they score a third goal?
No, it was 3-1 to Atletico.
Okay. Yeah, the PSG game. At least when I checked in the first half, the Sounders possessed the ball like 20% of the time, and I don't think it got too much better. So it was just not a super solid game by them, but we still hung with them, all things considered. Scored a couple goals, and it was a fun time for our team. And the MLS is better because they were able to be a part of that, which is awesome. Anything to say from you, John, about that one?
Yeah, I talk a lot of shit about soccer. I'm sorry to our devoted soccer listeners. I would hate to be a soccer fan that listens to this podcast. We don't talk about it very much, and I'm disrespectful half the time. But one other thing that I just find frustrating about it is it's pretty hard to have like a ridiculous. It's pretty hard to beat somebody like 7-0 in soccer, just because like if you're up 4-0 and controlling the ball, you're just going to control the ball till the game's over. It's just, it's kind of just common sense. So like we lost to Vancouver 3-0, and that was a bigger loss than any of the World Cup games. But all those games, the other team just controlled the ball, got up a couple goals, and basically ran it out. But like, yeah, the fact that PSG beat us 2-0, it's like, wow, we're within 2 goals of PSG? So that's better than AC Milan. And it's like, no, no, that's your older brother scoring a couple baskets in Pig and then, trying to do trick shots the rest of the game. So, yeah, the box scores look encouraging until you look closer at the time of possession and shots on goal. But it was fun. It was fun to see them get a chance in Seattle to play some of those, bigger clubs. They showed up in real ways too. I think I was telling you that I was getting dinner with my family in Seattle when they were playing Botafogo last Sunday, and the Botafogo jerseys are black and white and striped. And I was like, why are all these people wearing like referee jerseys like this? What is going on this weekend that I'm just seeing like, tens and tens of people walking down the street in like referee jerseys? And then I heard a couple of them speaking Portuguese, and I was like, oh, soccer fans. I see. But that one really got me for a couple minutes.
Oh, yeah. No, these were fun games to be a part of, but I don't think that it, I haven't checked on the other scores in terms of like when LAFC played and things like that, but I feel like it was not the best showing when it comes to MLS being on the level of those leagues, but that's okay. We know we're not the best league in soccer in the world, so let's move on. Quick talk about the Storm. They've gone 3-1 since we last talked. They just lost their game yesterday, I believe, to the Fever, 94-86. But they did beat the Liberty and the Aces, which are 2 big wins against 2 pretty good teams. So a nice stretch here from the Storm. They're currently 9-6, still third in the Western Conference, and looking pretty solid. Anything to say from you, John?
Yeah, it continues to be a pretty impressive season as far as I'm concerned. Fever are really good. Their record does not reflect how good they are when Caitlin plays.
Yep.
They're a lot better. Caitlin wasn't even amazing in this game, but her connection with Aaliyah Boston, like Aaliyah Boston is one of the best players in women's basketball. The fact that her and Caitlin play together, and the fact that Caitlin just like is a multiplier for Aaliyah, like Aaliyah is like 1.4 times better than she normally is when Caitlin's playing. They're the scariest duo in basketball, in women's basketball, in my opinion. But other than that loss, they're coming off a huge win over the Liberty. Sabrina Ionescu was not playing in that game, but this Storm team, credit where it's due, they've had some big wins this season. I remember last year, one of our frustrations is like, oh, their record's good, but every time they play the Liberty or, Connecticut was really good last year, the Aces, they would always lose those games. This year, they've beaten the Liberty, they've beaten the Aces, they've beaten the Lynx. They have, some losses against those teams as well, but they are faring well against the top of the WNBA this season, which I think is very encouraging. One other note I just wanted to make. I did a good job last week of correcting a mistake of just not shouting out Gabby Williams sooner for what a huge
I have her
part
pulled
of
up.
this
I was
team
just about to talk about her game. Are you going to talk about her game against the Sparks?
No, you take it. You talk about it.
Dude, her game against the Sparks, she played 29 minutes, 11 points, 7 assists, 8 steals, and 4 rebounds. She's just been so good. She's like doing everything on the court, averaging 2.5 steals a game. Like, she's just like 4.5 rebounds, 4.7 assists, 14 points. Like, that is the epitome of just the everything player for this team. She's been doing so much, and obviously learning a lot from Nika when it comes to like scoring and being in that forward position, and they're playing so well together. So you keep going on your thing. I just wanted to really shout out that game and just her stats because she's been so good.
That game was epic. Hit 2.5 steals per game on the season, near the top of the WNBA. Yeah, defensive force whose offense is really coming along. Gabby's awesome, but that was the mistake I made previously, and then last week I fixed it. Last week I finally called out Gabby for how great she's been. Now I'm back at the soapbox to apologize for the other major contributor to this team that I have failed to properly acknowledge, and that's Erica Wheeler. Erica Wheeler has been starting most of the year at guard, and her stats have been climbing recently, which is part of why I've really noticed, but she's 12 points a game, almost 4 assists a game, playing solid defense, limiting turnovers, 25 minutes a game. And this is probably the first time I've said her name on this podcast, which is bad on me. We continue to answer the riddle of how could this team be better than last year's team without Jewel and without a huge breakout from our young stud Dominique Malanga. The answer is Gabby Williams, and it's Erica Wheeler. And it's Skylar and Nyeka continuing to be complete bosses out there. But I really think Gabby and Erica have stepped up and filled a lot of the scoring and offensive absence left by Jewel. And then what they're bringing on defense is just awesome. So that's all I really wanted to say. As he continues to underwhelm me a little bit, I'm hoping to see more from her in the future. But yeah, Erica and Gabby have been awesome. Just wanted to shout them out.
Let me just say one more thing. Those two combined have like a 40% field goal or 3-point field goal percentage. Like, Erica Wheeler's shooting 43.4% from 3 on 3.5 3-point attempts per game. Gabby's shooting almost 5 3-pointers per game at a 38.9% clip. Like, that's great. Skylar Diggins at 41.7. This team can shoot the ball well. And they've been doing that, and if they can continue to do that, they'll play at a high pace and keep winning these games.
Yeah, Erica's leading the team in percentage, and we were talking about that last week. This team leads the WNBA in 3-point percentage. They're not leading in attempts, which I also appreciate. They have a strength, but they're not over-reliant on it. But when they put up threes, they have the highest tendency in women's basketball of going through the basket, which is, absolutely another huge reason why this team is what they are. So very exciting. Yeah.
All right. There it is, guys. There's the full episode, a little longer today, but we had to get that Mariners discussion in. If you enjoyed this episode of Sound Up Seattle, please feel free to give us a follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. Enjoy our lovely, lovely faces and document my hair growth. It's really getting out there. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, all at Sound Up Seattle, all lowercase, all one word. You can email us questions, comments, or concerns at soundupseattle@gmail.com. You can find me, Tyler, at TyCart50, everywhere it's important. And you can find John.
Rewatching a bunch of Wes Anderson movies and really tearing up during every single one of them. I don't know what it is about Wes that he gets me right in the heartstrings with these goofy ass movies. It's ridiculous. I'm halfway through Isle of Dogs right now, and it's destroying me spiritually.
Dude, when we lived together, you were the one guy who always could just stop a movie and then start whenever you were like, oh, I've got some free time. I can't do that. I can't watch 30 minutes of a movie and then turn it off. It's a weird talent, man.
Yeah, that's because you haven't been dating Anna Luce this whole time. I can't. It's impossible for me to get her to watch a 3-hour movie with me. We gotta take them in episodic bites.
It's basically.
I'm also
Andor
really good at like scouting a film, of being like, okay, we're gonna stop it here, and then we're gonna stop it here. You got to plan these things beforehand, so it's good transitions.
That's really what he does at work. He's just planning his movie stop times. It is NBA draft time. Hope you enjoy. I'm gonna be tuning in here. So, with all that being said, I suppose go Nerds, man. Keep the hot streak going.
It's gotta be. Thank you, Chicago, for hosting us. The beer was excellent. Go Nerds.